Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Rodcast. I'm sitting here with Pastor Rod. Right now, we've been discussing worship and our worship music written within, but I wanted to talk today about our journey here at Lifehouse. And so let's start off by hearing from Pastor Rod himself. So, Pastor Rod, would you share a little bit of your story of your journey getting saved and how worship has impacted you? And then we'll talk about our church.
Wow, big story. I got saved at 19. I was a fireman in Sydney, and I was coming from a completely non-Christian background. My musical taste coming into knowing the Lord was really heavy metal and some other influences. And so when I came to church, one of the biggest shocks was the music. I love the people. So when I talk about music style, it's not about the people. But the church I actually became a believer in was a very old church with not that many people, and it was just a simple piano and some older songs and singing in a old style, and nothing wrong with any of that picture. And I still bless them to this day. But it just was a shock. It wasn't my cultural style, so I had to then, as a new believer, had to come to church and try to like the music. And of course, I love the words because I'm now a believer. I've got the Holy Spirit within, and nothing wrong with the words, but the style was very much a challenge. It was such a challenge that I wondered if I could bring my friends to church because I knew what they were into, and it was going to be a challenge. So please let me say again, there's nothing wrong with any style or any age, but there is something there with bringing people into different cultures and evangelism. So then I went to another church a little bit later. It's now a famous church, and the music was really different. And as I look back now, 4 generations ago, I got saved 42 years ago. 4 generations ago, it was very different than today, but it was much more contemporary at that time. In fact, that church was using live drums and trumpets and saxophones, and it was really dynamic and fast and exciting, and I really liked it. I really liked it. And it was also the songs, the words were almost all scripture in song. So now I was learning like Psalm 136 or Psalm 23, the Lord is my shepherd, to contemporary music. And it really helped me to get the word into my heart. I'd go home humming the song and then singing some of the lyrics. And it really helped my early discipleship and to this day. But that was a big shift for me, and then I could invite my friends to a church that I felt was more in line with my culture and my friends' culture, and that helped. It helped evangelism, and that church was seeing so many people come to Jesus every week, and I think a big part of it was the upfront music. And I noticed in that church also that the first few songs were very fast and very lively and clapping, and we even did a thing called the kangaroo hop, or kangaroo jump, which is like everyone actually, we called it dancing, but it was actually jumping. And even first time visitors were just getting into the rhythm. And once again, the words were biblical and amazing, and you could go home humming them. But the first few songs were very fast and rhythmic and exciting, and then there was maybe 1 or 2 slower songs that had great words as well, but were much more reflective and much more people put their hands up, and I could see that, and I did that too, and I felt good about that. Some people didn't do that. That was fine, but it was a different expression. It was an expression really of surrender. I give to God my best. And so I came to learn that as praise and worship, fast songs, slow songs, which a lot of churches still use that dichotomy today. But after a while, the style started to change, and there became a lot more rock and roll, and different styles in the mid-'80s, which I also enjoyed. And the slow songs maintained some form of similarity right through. And then went to Asia, and we talked about this last week, went to some village churches where they would naturally sing these amazing style of songs. But when I went to the big cities, they were singing more hymns, and people were very quiet. Thai people here from Thailand. But in the villages, we're singing more the contemporary style of Thailand. I could see the joy and the dancing, and people would get up, and the old ladies would get up, and they'd be doing their thing with their hands and worshiping God and going in a circle. And I just wanted to do that. I just thought that was amazing. So once again, I learned contemporary music was a very, very important part of the worship experience, or the coming to a church service, and remembering the songs and remembering the words, which was often Bible. And so Australia kept changing, and the world kept changing, and there was different styles. And I know that we trialed some songs in Australia in a bit of rap and a bit of hip hop, a bit of rhythm and blues and a bit of gospel and we were in freedom in Australia. I think Australia was known as the country where it was making music available to young people. I believe it does have that reputation even to this day. And so we were in churches where we could really explore, and as long as it was glorifying and the words were uplifting, we could use any style. And I saw that shift. And some styles connected in different cities, and country towns might be a bit different, but basically it became very, homogeneous, similar across Australia, whether it was a Baptist church, a Pentecostal church, or a Catholic church. It was very now a similar group and a similar style in the generation coming to the time we came to Japan in 2002. I think probably Australia is similar today, but maybe more contemporary styles, which you might know more about me than that, Richard. I don't know. But then we're coming to Japan. And so we had some decisions to make about music. But I might just throw it to you, Richard, before I talk about Japan.
Yeah.
What about you? What's your experience? Because you're a musician and a singer. How does what I spoke about just that reflect in your life as a younger Christian?
Well, I grew up, my first 11 years were in New Zealand, and then the next 11 years were in Australia. And then after that, it's been Asia. And I grew up in church, and I always loved the worship. But I would say when I was a teenager, I first heard a punk rock song, and like a pop punk kind of song, and I was like 13 years old, and I just remember like I heard that sound and was like, wow, like music can be like this. And that had a huge influence on me musically through all my teenage years. And I got into maybe some more heavy music and different styles of music. And in church life, the more that the church music was similar to what I was listening in terms of style, because it was a bit different in terms of lyrics. Obviously, they're not, it was mostly just secular bands and stuff. But as it connected more with style, with what I was used to and what I was really loving, I felt like it opened up my heart more when I sung those songs. Like, and as I encountered maybe more contemporary worship styles, it enabled me to work, just to connect with God. I think there was less obstacle in the way, and it seems like with your story, when you went to that lovely little church with the piano and the songs, that just maybe not your style. It's almost like the music can be an obstacle in a way to you inviting a friend or something like that. The style it can block something a little bit, even though it's wonderful. If it's not connecting with you, it's not a tool that's serving your connection with Jesus. And I found that, especially for us, for me coming to Lifehouse in my 20s, I connected with the style straight away. And I'm like, it opens up my worship. It's not that I have to have that, but it just makes it easier. It's reducing the obstacles towards in my worship, and it's sticking with me. The songs are sticking, and I'm going home and I'm singing the words. And so, I just that's been my experience, and I've been influenced by a lot of guitar-driven music, heavy music, and then not anymore. Over time, your music taste changes, and these days it's more maybe electronic and things like that. And I feel that church church music has and our church music has evolved with my taste. I mean, there was a time as a teenager where I was thinking someone should start a heavy metal church. Like, I would want to go to that. I would want to listen to just distorted big guitars and sing to God. Like, and yeah, maybe that might not be attractive to many people, but I don't know. That was what I thought as a teenager. It's like, man, I grew up on the emo scene in Australia. I wanted to listen to emo music. I wanted to sing that kind of style to God. And so yeah, like for me, the style is important. It's the difference between, I think, an obstacle with in worship versus elevating the moment. I think the good music will elevate. Yeah, well, maybe not good. I don't want to say good, but the music that you connect with will elevate a moment with God. Yeah, an experience. I mean, just like you talked about in the last episode about movies, man, you take music out of a movie, like it would be dry. Many times more boring. Yeah.
Well, I guess that's a really good point. When we came to Japan, what was our intention with music? Because we did have because of my experience in Australia, all those years, and then a pastor in Australia, a pastor in Thailand with Viv, and arrived in Japan. Well, we had a young team of Australians, 10 Australians, and a few of them were good musicians. Most of us were not, but a few were good. We had a good keyboard player and a good drummer, believe it or not. And we had a couple of singers. And so because the team came from Australia, we all knew the same songs. It was very easy to select a few because the Japanese were going to now come in. Young Japanese had never been to a church. Almost every young Japanese has never been to a church. And so their first experience of church, we discovered, was incredibly important. In fact, from that first experience would be the decision whether they would ever come back or not. It's that important. It's just that important. And I think it probably is that important in Australia too, to some degree. But in Japan, even more so, where you really have one chance. And music is the first part of the service. So it was very important that we had a style that was very warm. So we made a few decisions. Number one is we chose a few songs that had a limited amount of words because we were going to go bilingual, English and Japanese. And to do that, the chords and the verse and the chorus and the verse and the chorus in different languages, it makes a very long song. So we had a choice to this many praise songs, this many worship songs, and we had a repertoire of about 6 songs in 6 months. It took us a long time to get the Japanese lyrics. That's a different story. But once we had it, the Japanese came in. They loved the bilingual experience. People were so happy to try and sing English, and then we hit Japanese and they would sing in their own language and they would clap. We found non-Christians, if they liked the music, they would clap. They would even jump sometimes. They would have a smile on their face. They'd come in looking sad and they would smile. And so we realized how important the song selection and the lyric selection was in Japan. So what I'm going to say is the last 20 years, we've been here 20 years, it's been a continual decision of the style of song we're going to use. Very intentional. And it's not just the new people, it's also the believers, because they've come in through those songs and they expect a certain style. So we've never used hymns in Japan. And let me say, we're not against hymns. In fact, I say to people when they come in and say, why don't you sing hymns? I say, well, we're on mission on Sunday. We're going to see some Japanese saved today. Would you come and help us to enjoy the music? Because it's very important that the foreigners actually enjoy the service so that the visitors can see this is a good thing. So if you want to sing hymns, why don't you listen to it on Spotify one of the other 6 days of the week? And that's without any sense of, being upset or it's just what I'm saying is, listen, on Sunday, would you be on mission with us? And when we explain that to people, whether they're from Australia or America or Indonesia, or wherever, instantly people would say, "Oh, yeah, 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 yeah." So we needed to know we're on mission with our music. It's got to connect with the Japanese. It's got to be simple enough words that reflect Scripture, Bible, give glory to God. And there were some other decisions we made with song selection, and we decided not to go for what we call the more journey lyrics. The journey, like I'm on a journey to God, or I'm coming back to God, or I'm not feeling good, but I'm soon going to feel better with God's presence. We just made a decision that that's too complex for young Japanese believers and seekers. So again, no disparaging other styles and what other people do, but I'm just explaining our philosophy. We had to have a style where at the end of the worship, the Japanese felt lifted and they felt it was clear praise to this person called Jesus Christ. And so it limited, once again, our song choice. We couldn't have a lot of lyrics. We couldn't have journey music. This is us. This is no one else. This is just Lifehouse. And by the way, we've never taught others to do this. This is just our personal decisions. So out of that came maybe our first songs that we started to write about 2012. So 10 years later, we arrived 2002, and about 2012, we're experimenting, writing our own songs similar to the Australian sort of songs, which sounded the same, but maybe just was more lyrically reaching Japanese. The word choice was important, that we didn't use certain words that were very hard for Japanese to understand. So that's a different subject, that's lyrics. But staying with music style, we also realized they were really enjoying the Australian rock style of music that was coming out of some other churches in Australia. So we incorporated some of those, and they were even more happy clappy and even more jumping. And at big conferences, but there would just be a youth, stomp and enjoyment and praise, and that continued for a number of years. And then we started writing more of our own songs that had more J-pop flavor. This was a shift. This was a shift now, because J-pop is a little bit more whimsical, or a little bit more thinking about certain things in life. And so we included the style, but not those lyrics. So there were positive lyrics in the style. So we started doing that, and some of this was very organic. Some of our songwriters didn't know what they were doing, but the song sounded great. So it was more organic. And then the songs just keep getting better and better. I think you would say yes to that. You saw
Absolutely
the evolution. Do you just want to comment on that? What you saw there?
Yeah, I think I've seen our songwriters, I guess, just mature in their skill. Always had great hearts, but I think, like many great bands, they evolve in their skill and they get better. And I think with us, in the early days, obviously, like you try to imitate, and you learn from others, and you copy styles and whatever, and then you start working on your own flavor. And I feel like that's exactly what you just described, like bringing in the more J-pop style of it. But I think, the point that we're at now is that we have our flavor, and we have these kind of simply worded songs, but powerful themes, powerful lyrics.
Yeah.
But what I love about them is that we can connect with them in any culture, and I'm in a different culture than you are.
Yeah.
But these simple concepts everyone can understand, and not just Christians in different cultures, but non-Christians in different cultures. So, like what you said, it's missional. The Sunday worship experience. But yeah, I think for our journey of writing songs, so you said 2012, was it? We started.
Yeah.
So
I'd
10
say
years.
so. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. And obviously, yeah, it's probably right. It's probably something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just think the standard has increased dramatically. It's almost like year on year better than the last. And the thing is, a lot of the bands that I like they kind of have a peak, they do, like bands don't just get better and better and better and better forever.
Yeah.
They can't, they do kind of have a peak, but I think the beauty of a church is that there's always new blood on the team,
Yeah.
and and I think we're also very intentional. I think one thing that surprised me about Lifehouse as I got more into the leadership and into the core of, how church works was I was surprised how intentional you guys were at deciding, like, at the worship experience. It was, to me, coming in as an outsider, it was really great, but it seemed, I don't know, it seemed like it would be straightforward, and then I'd have a thought, oh, what if we could sing this song? And then, but as I'd talk to you guys, I would hear very well thought out answers of why we're doing this style or this approach versus another approach. And like what you said, when you explained to foreigners, like, it just made sense to me once you explained it. It was very intentional and thought out. And so I've seen the organic side of the songwriting evolve, but I've also seen the intentionality of how leadership has made decisions around worship and what is connecting with the people and what is not. But I'm so proud of where we're at as a movement. I think our songwriters have done an amazing job, and the production side of things as well, which is a whole another part of the process.
Sure. It's exciting, isn't it? Because it's like it's original music coming out of the Japanese heart. This is one of the things that we've said to the Japanese over the years, is that Japan is not just going to be a mission receiving country; it's going to be a mission giving country. And that's, out of Japan we've planted other churches, and we've said, songs in Japan are going to flow to the world. So we're missional too in our music. We're missional in our approach in various things. And when Hong Kong starts writing their own songs, or Bali, we're going to rejoice because it's missional. It's coming out of the heart organically. And it does take time. And it takes time for musicians and songwriters to get confident. Definitely. Because when it's a high standard, it's very hard to sort of jump into the pool.
And you encourage that a lot in the early days, right? The songwriting. I do remember, because we weren't really doing it. I think that was the intentionality that I did feel, is that you were encouraging that, encouraging the team to get together and to, right.
And also, at one of the early songwriters is my son Monty, and I really was so excited that he was always saying, "Come on, there's got to be other songwriters too." So he's not trying to hold it to one style or one person. And then we actually started. We did get some we do have some Japanese songwriters now, and some Japanese lyricists. And now we've actually got this concept of a group writing a song together, which is a couple of foreigners, a couple of Japanese, and we look at the lyrics in both Japanese and English. It's actually very organic. It just happened naturally, and now it's much more collaboration, which I think is one of the reasons the product, if I can use that word, the final product has got better. We're in a collaborative state, and it's so exciting for the songwriters to be in that. They go away for a overnight, guys and girls in different accommodation, but just a day of songwriting, bringing this part. I've got a chorus, and someone says, oh, I've got the lyrics, and you come out with a number of potential songs out of a collaboration time. And we have some songwriters, some Japanese, who make very Japanese style, and the Japanese themselves say, "Oh, this is Japanese style. We love it." And the foreigners go, "This is a bit different, but we can see the impact on the Japanese, and we love it." So that's the church, right? That we love each other, and so there's certain songs I just know is more Japanese, and I think that's going to really hit with the Japanese, and it does. And I'm looking forward to the time when we have all styles hitting somewhere. There was, however, the big change happened for us around the COVID, because we went online 100%. And when we went online, we were using only about maybe a third to a half of our own songs. We were using a lot from USA and Australia. But when we went online, for some reason, there was somebody who kept reporting us our like the songs we were using from an American church. They were reporting us for copyright. Now, we had paid the right to every song we use. We paid the copyright to that church, to that songwriter. We're always very clear on that. But someone in Brazil, for some reason, no one we knew, no one knows this person, kept reporting us. And so when you get strikes on YouTube, they take down your video. And so Sunday comes, people are watching in the middle of a song and it just goes blank. And this happened about 3 times. The same person. And we wrote to YouTube and we said, we've paid the copyright. And they say, oh, yeah, but when we get a report, we have to take you down till you till you counter that and say no. Anyway, long story short, we realized that we were using a lot of songs that were being struck by this person. And we didn't know this person. We didn't know who they were or what was. I didn't even know how one person can do that. But we realized that the only safe thing to do was to do our own songs 100%. And then nobody could strike us for any copyright. Again, even though we're paying the copyright finance, like there was nothing illegal we were doing. But we just realized if we're going online and we're serious, we have to go 100%. So that was a moment we had to increase to 100%. And people say, why do we sing all our own songs? That's the number one reason. That is the number one reason. And we're still online and we still love online. And well over half of our people watch online every Sunday, maybe even more than that. And we still can't have that experience of having our stuff taken down. So the 100% was not a moral choice or a style choice. It was practical. It just had to happen. And even now we're a little bit tender to go back to other music because we just can't have things taken down. But it's caused our songwriters to write more, to get together more, to dream more, and then more in the group. So people might say, why do you only sing all your own songs at the moment? Well, number one, practical. Number two, it's creating a generation of songwriters, lyricists, translators, musicians. It's actually spawned this incredible new group. It's exciting, isn't it?
And so what you're saying is there's nothing against the other songs. It's
no. I want to make that really clear.
We needed it to.
Yeah, I want to make that really clear. But now that we're doing all our own songs, to do other songs is a little bit strange for our campuses because we've been singing our own songs for 2.5 years.
So used to it. Yeah.
Just so used to it, and they're good songs, and it's just really clear, and no one's going to be taken down off YouTube or whatever. It's just the way we're going forward. So someone might say, does that mean in the future you might go back to other songs? The answer is yeah. In fact, we did The Blessing halfway through the COVID in Japanese and English, and it was an incredible blessing, that song. And if there's a world song, we would use it again, or if there's a specific song with lyrics and style that just hit us, we would definitely be open to using those songs. But again, are we going to get a copyright strike is the question.
Yeah, I think a lot of people would not know that practical reason exists. Yeah, that is such an important thing, especially with everything we do online and we're going to continue to do online.
With our songs, let me say we've got campuses in, I think, 10 to 15 different countries. And I've said to each of the songwriters or the musicians there, if you wanted to do a blended version of our song, you could go into a studio and do that. For example, if it was in Pakistan, for example, they could add some local drums. Or Indonesia, they could add a gamelan or something, whatever.
Like local remixes.
Local remix is fine to make it more ethno-musically theirs. But most of the we're almost, I think we're in Asia exclusively. Most of the Asian countries, whether it's Hong Kong or Korea or Indonesia, are saying no, it fits us perfectly. So that's interesting. I think there is an Asian style actually that has developed in music.
And I mean, music is a lot more globalized than it was 100 years ago because of the internet. And so we're all listening to stuff, So even someone like a young person in Japan can be listening to the same stuff as a young person in Australia or
Yeah.
America, and so yeah,
Yep.
yeah. Although there's cultures and styles, but yeah, there's
Mm,
also I think a universality to some degree
yeah.
in music styles.
And probably just a final thing, we do more praise for faster songs than slow songs, and there is a
Good
reason
point.
for that. Again, because the volume is more in the church service, and again, the reason is people come in wanting to feel better. They want to feel better. We want them to feel better, want to be touched by God, and through the music is certainly a way they lift and inspire, rather than singing a lot of slower songs. Again, no judgment, but that's just what we found in our cultures.
What about more reflective type songs?
Again, Japanese have this. The Japanese pop style is very reflective. In fact, it can even be
Hmm.
quite depressive at times. I'm
Right.
quite
Yeah.
serious. Like really, some of
Yeah.
the lyrics are very. I'm all alone, and I'm
Yeah.
alone, and I'm
It's
alone, and
sad.
through the song,
Hmm.
it's sad. I'd say Japanese has that stream. So we want to sing slow songs that are up, that are
Yep.
really, we praise you, God. You have changed my life. You are doing this. You are amazing, because we want them to hear the same sounds, but now they're singing songs that are uh, not so reflective. I guess they are reflective to
Hmm.
God, but the the the
Yeah.
the emphasis is I'm coming out of where I am to you. I'm coming up.
Hmm.
I'm going up. Which was what praise is also about, going up. So our worship is also the
Hmm.
same influence. So reflective, I'd say to people, you can listen to that
Hmm.
more on your Spotify or whatever you listen to.
Yep.
If you feel you need that music, please go for it. It's great. But in church, we're probably not that reflective. If I don't, I
Yep.
guess we have to define your word there, but not so much
Right.
introspective, but
Yeah.
more outrospective, if there's such a word, to Jesus.
Y- Yeah, that's right. Maybe getting the focus off myself and onto the goodness of God,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
yeah,
And again,
connecting
if
with
someone's
Him.
really sad or depressed or had a bad moment, please listen to some great Christian music that is reflective. This is not a value
Hmm.
judgment. It's a Sunday
Hmm.
decision. It's a
Yep.
service decision. That's all.
So yeah, it seems like you're kind of distinguishing the Sunday experience and what we're worshiping to and listening to versus, you know, maybe private worship and things like
Yeah.
that. I do think there's a big difference in
Yeah.
what works well with a big group
Mm,
on Sunday versus what I enjoy maybe in my own
yeah.
time.
Our songs are very different, and they're original. They're Japanese out of Japan. They are to reach the Christians here and the seekers here. This is our mission. This is our world. Please listen to other stuff in your own time. And we openly say that to
Hmm.
people. We'd
Yeah.
even say it from the front, from the pulpit. Say, hey guys, our
Mhm.
music is different. If you please come on a mission with us, please help us to win Japan for Christ. Please be here in Japan with a great attitude. And most of our foreigners go, wow, I love it. I'm in. Yes, Lord. And it's
Mhm.
really amazing. Just a little challenge to mission. Just how many people come on that journey with us. It's really exciting.
Mhm. Yeah. Absolutely. I think it's powerful. I think as a foreigner, having lived in Japan and now Hong Kong for a long time, I've never I've never felt there was a problem. In fact, I don't know, maybe it's just me. I don't even feel like the music is super Japanese.
Absolutely.
I just
I
feel
think,
like it just connects.
yeah. I think it could be sung anywhere in the world right now.
Yeah.
Especially with our instrumentation, is a little bit lighter, and I think it could be used in most church cultures of the
Hmm.
world if people wanted to listen to it.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah. And I think there's a real skill with writing congregational worship, like
mm,
worship that everyone can sing and connect to.
yeah,
I think I'm proud of our team. I think they've done a
it's
really
great.
great job
It's great.
because
And
that's not easy.
no, and I also think the praise songs we have are amazing. I think praise songs are harder to write than worship songs, just the style. But we've got so many amazing praise songs that I go home singing. I wake up in the morning singing. It's impacting me, and I'm thinking, wow, wouldn't that be great to people just to, yeah, Jesus, you're amazing, you've changed my life, and singing that. I think it's going to help people draw out of more introspection, more self-thinking, and more kingdom thinking, God thinking. There's a time for everything, right? It says in Ecclesiastes, there's a time to be introspective, but there's also a time to be outgoing. And I want our Sunday experience to be that outgoing place.
Maybe we can finish on just some advice. I don't know if you have any advice for either songwriters or maybe churches who are thinking about, writing their own songs. How would you start that? Because obviously we did not start for the first 10 years with our own songs.
Sure.
And we've transitioned to that.
Advice, just get around your musicians and singers and start talking about styles and our mission, our style and mission. What are we here to do? And there will be a lot of disagreement, but that doesn't have to be negative if we've got a mission. And to separate the two things of preference and mission. Because some people have got a preference, but then if you explain it's not the mission, like you love that, but that's not going to help people. People will say, okay, that's my preference. So separate the two things and say, what is our mission? What is our objective? Do we have a strong enough team to start writing songs or not? Not every church is going to start writing their own songs. Or what's the style of songs that we're going to actually be heading towards? And I said before that we chose songs that did not have a lot of words. That was very practical, but there's also some contexts where simplicity is going to help the mission as well. So thinking through those issues, the style, and I think it's good for people to bring a style of music they like from even the world. Just, I like this style. Could we do something like this? And a discussion out of that. Because I don't believe there's any right or wrong style of music. It's the energy people put into it makes it good or evil. So rock and roll is not in itself is just a series of chord progressions and some instruments, but it's the energy that either someone puts it in for their selfish reasons or for worshiping God. When you pick up a guitar, you can use it to do whatever. So to me, the style, we need to clarify. There's nothing right or wrong. So by giving an example of a song we like is not saying that we like the lyrics or now I wouldn't bring in something with bad lyrics, okay, but I like this style. If I was in Pakistan, for example, I would hear some music and say, and do it on Shazam or one of those apps where you record it and say, can we do that style? And I'm not saying the lyrics, but I like that style. Like it's in your culture and I really like it. Do you like it? And people say, yeah. Or could we work on doing that? And I think that's going to help local teams to know the style that we want. And there are some styles where there are a lot of great songs out there. I'm just not sure. I'm sure there's a sort of bit crowded with a lot of songs that are all good. But then there's this other area maybe we could actually get a little bit more investigative and original in our culture and mission, which I think will lead to excitement within a team. That's just my thoughts.
I agree. I think for the musicians and for those creative people, they should be eating this up. They should be loving this. What an exciting challenge.
Yeah.
To write relevant songs and to hear them sung by your church. It's pretty cool.
It's really great. And then you hear your kids come home humming it and you hear others and the kids in kids' church. We did a new version of the Lord's Prayer, in just a Japanese version, very simple. And adults and kids are still singing that in Japanese. It's very catchy. So then they've learnt the Lord's Prayer. That's another example for songs we wanted to write with certain lyrics.
Well, it's amazing, Pastor Rod. I think we'll have to finish there. It's been a great discussion these last two episodes on our worship written within and why we do that. And keep writing, songwriters. You're doing a great job. Keep it up. We'll see you next time.
Thank you so much for joining us today. And if you enjoyed today's episode with Pastor Rod, why don't you subscribe on whatever platform you are listening to this, and we'll see you next time.